Hey guys, Cronus Falls here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a champion guide on the new champion Stag Knight. Now, if you've watched any of my previous videos, such as my Fire Knight 20 or Spiders 20 video, you've seen him featured there already. But for anyone who hasn't, I'm going to be going over him again at the start here. So I've got him running about, about 55,000 HP. Got him in an HP percent chest because it had 21% crit rate. He could also do very well with a defense chest since his defense is pretty decent for a support. It's 1046. But yeah, so HP defense just make him tanky. And then we've got his attack pretty low here, coming in about 1770, so close to 1800. As you'll see, all of his jewelry is going to be defense, crit damage, accuracy. So I've noticed he hits pretty hard. He's got decent multipliers. And as you see here, I've not really built his attack. That's what his skills are based off of, his attack. But with 182 crit damage and 98% crit rate, he can pump out some pretty good damage, as you'll see coming up here. But also 210 accuracy. That's very important for end-game dungeony content. You need to have over 200 accuracy, preferably closer to 230. That's like the top end as far as not getting resisted goes. And there is always a chance to get resisted, unfortunately. But I think 230 is kind of where you get to a point where you have the lowest chance of being resisted. So as far as his skills go, his A1 attacks one enemy 2 times, and each hit has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. So this may not seem so strong at first, but with champions like Spider and Fire Knight, where the goal is to keep their turn meter down and kind of take them out without letting them take too many turns, a decreased speed debuff is actually really helpful, and you'll see that come into play later. But basically, it just allows your champions to lap the bosses more and keep their turn meter under control. So the A2 here, Hunt Master, it attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance when booked of placing a 95% chance with booked, 100% chance if you have the Sniper Mastery. But it places a 60% decreased defense debuff and a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. And that's on a 3-turn cooldown once he's booked. So that's kind of the bread and butter ability for him. As you all know, an AoE decreased defense is one of the most important roles you can have in any dungeon team. And nice enough, he also brings decreased attack, which really helps to survive against dungeon waves. Like say we're going into Fire Knight. That decreased attack is going to knock down Errol's attack by 50%, and Errol hits super hard because he can ignore defense, so that's really helpful. Finally, we've got his passive here. Places a 50% increased accuracy buff on an ally for 1 turn each time the ally has a debuff resisted by an enemy. So the passive is not too helpful, unfortunately. First of all, it doesn't work anytime that your champion is resisted. So let's say you're trying to remove a buff or decrease turn meter or something. That doesn't count. It's only debuffs such as like decreased defense, decreased attack. And then second of all, it's only 1 turn. So let's say I'm coming in with Rosin Scarhide. I'm using his A2 trying to place decrease defense and weaken, and that doesn't stick. Well, now I'm on a 3-turn cooldown. I've only got 1 turn of increased accuracy. Just not that helpful in general, but it's okay. And then for masteries here, as you saw, I'm kind of building him towards crit rate, crit damage, and a little bit of sustain. So for his masteries, we've got him coming crit rate and down into crit damage, and then we've got Heart of Glory here to inflict a little more damage when at full HP. And then your main line down like you're doing Clan Boss to War Master. Now the reason we're going to War Master is I mostly use him in dungeons, so it helps him to help take down the bosses a little bit quicker. There is also an argument to be made for either Helm Smasher or Flawless Execution if you're going for a more damage-centric build. Either way, like if you wanted to use him in arena, let's say, I would definitely suggest going with one of these two and getting his attack a little higher than mine is. But for the most part, I think War Master is going to serve you pretty well. Now on the support tree, it is important to come into accuracy, get a little more accuracy from charged focus. And then you're going to want Swarm Smiter here. This is really helpful in Spider. It can get you 16 extra accuracy pretty easy. Arcane Celerity, boosting turn meter when debuffs expire. He places a lot of debuffs, so this is super helpful. You got Lore of Steel. This is bumping up his HP and his speed for me. Evil Eye to drop turn meter on his first A1. Again, super helpful, dropping turn meter, dropping speed. That's what you need to be doing against bosses. Sniper, he needs Sniper for the 5% chance to make his A2 a 100% chance to place, so that's kind of a must-have on Stag Knight. And then Master Hexer, so we want to be bumping up those speed, decreased defense, and decreased attack buffs up to 3 turns whenever possible. Alright, so that's kind of the build. I'm going to go ahead and take him into some dungeons, and you can kind of see how he does. So I think first we're going to take him into Ice Golem. Ice Golem 20, and we're just going to take out Madame Ceres here, and we will throw him in. Where is he? There we go. And let's see how this goes. So normally I keep Madame Ceres in here for the decreased defense and decreased attack because the second wave, as you all know, can put up a reflect damage when it's on green affinity, and that can be pretty devastating to some teams that are hitting really hard AoE. But another reason to bring in Madame Ceres as well is because she will use her decreased defense against the boss when both of the ads are up, whereas someone like Stag Knight or Tyrell will not. But that being said, he will function just fine on this team, especially this team, because I'm not running Royal Guard or anything like that, someone who's doing huge AoE attacks. So as long as he's just getting the decreased defense and decreased attack up, he's going to serve us just fine. As you can see, we're making our way through the waves here, and he's hitting pretty decently hard on his A1 and A2. So let's go ahead and slow it down here. He's about to go. So let's see. He's got no decreased attack, no decreased defense, anything like that. Unfortunately, it's on cooldown. But let's go ahead and see how much this hits for. So see, almost 40,000 damage with no decreased attack, no decreased defense. And his attack is not built up at all. So this guy can definitely put out some damage for you. Alright, so let's go ahead and get back into it. So as you can see, I'm running a pretty strong team here. I got Miscreated Monster. I've got Arbiter to revive when something like that happens. I've got Apothecary boosting my speed as well as Arbiter. And then Rotos is really the star here as far as clan boss goes. You want him to be knocking out the ads with his A3 and blocking their revive. So if that happens, that'll be great as well. It'll allow my Stag Knight to get a little more of his decreased defense going. But so far, we're going along pretty strong. It looks like the first one did get his revive blocked, which is great. So now only one can come back up. And if Stag Knight can get his decreased speed going here, perfect. So now the Ice Golem is going to be taking a lot less turns because he's got 2 turns of decreased speed. So obviously he gets those in when he reaches his threshold, but that's just kind of how it goes. So Rotos is taking that one out again, and we are working on the boss here. He's going super slow. We're lapping him easy. He's already lost 60% of his max HP from Rotos' A2, so there he goes, down with the A3. He won't be coming back. And now we're just sitting back and relaxing. So you've seen, ever since he put up that decreased speed, the Ice Golem's only gotten 1 turn, which is right now. Actually, sorry, it hasn't even happened yet. There we go. That's his first turn since he put up that decreased speed. It's insanity how much that helps. So now let's go ahead, jump back into the map, and show what he can do in Spider's Den. So in Spider's Den, this is the main team I'm running, and I've already made a video on this, but his goal is to just decrease the spider's speed, put up the decreased defense, and allow the other characters to work their magic, keeping the turn meter down from Armiger. And then we've got Miscreated Monster to keep everyone alive. So you'll see how that kind of works here. All right, so we get the speed up. We're going to get the shields right now. And we get the, oh, we didn't get the decreased defense actually. We got resisted. That's okay. You can see his passive here. So now he's got the increased accuracy. And he'll come through and slow down the spider for us now. So at this point, the spider should never take a turn again. He's slow. We've got Armiger taking the damage through the shield, so he should be okay. I don't think he's ever going to go down. He never seems to. And we've got the Armigers dropping turn meter. We've got Apothecary speeding us up. So between a speed up and a speed down, you know, the spider never really gets a chance to do anything. So as long as Armiger can take these hits from the spiders, we're looking good. Pair that with an ally protection, like, and the decreased attack on the spiderlings from Stag Knight, they just don't do enough to get over that, ever. So it's a pretty strong combination. It's nice that they released him in the Battle Pass because it became really easy to obtain a champion that will give you decreased defense down and a decreased speed. Honestly, before I had him, my spider runs were not 100% effective, and they were pretty slow. They were running me typically like 5 minutes. But ever since I got him, he has dropped the time down significantly to between 2.5 and 3 minutes normally. So he's just been a great addition. And so you can see the boost turn meter there. Against Spider, he's putting so many debuffs that even though it's only a 30% chance to boost his turn meter when they fall off, there's so many of them that it's going to happen pretty often. And the goal here is kind of just to whittle down the health with War Master. So they'll occasionally, the Armigers will get a big hit in on their A2 if the turn meter is below 30%, but that's not the main focus. As long as we're hitting him consistently, keeping the turn meter down, he's going to go down eventually. There's nothing that the Spiderlings can do to Armiger with this level of shield on. And the nice thing about Miscreated Monster paired with Stag Knight is the decreased defense all around really increases the amount of shield he's getting. So it's really a potent combo. If you have these two champions together, Spider is probably not an issue for you. You can have a couple of Armigers in here, a couple of Cold Hearts maybe. Should be completely fine. Alright, so we're coming up on the end here. It's looking like this is going to be a little longer run, closer to the 3-minute side, but that's fine. Just not a whole lot of War Master procs. And that's what's really going to affect the amount of time on the run, is just how many times War Master hits. Like you've seen the last few really haven't been going off. And that's it. Alright, so Spider done and dusted, as Hell Hades likes to say. There was absolutely no danger for any of my team throughout that. Ooh, nice banner. No speed, though, unfortunately. So back to the map. We'll come to Dragons last, because unfortunately his affinity is not very good for Dragon. But let's come in here. Alrighty, so this is my Fire Knight team. As you'll notice, it's very similar to my Spider team. The only difference is instead of Miscreated Monster coming in, we've got Rosin Scarhide taking over that CC position because he has a 3-hit A1 and his Force affinity, whereas Miscreated Monster is only Magic affinity, which is a big disadvantage here. So again, my Fire Knight runs before I got Stag Knight were probably only about, I want to say 60% effective as far as whether or not I was going to clear the dungeon or not. But ever since I got him, they're like 99%. The only way that I potentially lose is if Errol just goes off and ignores Apothecary's defense for 3 hits in a row. But that's not very common. So as we'll see here, between the CC of Rosin with his A3 and the Armigers with their A1s, we can kind of keep turn meters down. They will get to take a few turns. Like I think Errol's taken 2 turns so far, but nothing crazy coming through. So boom, we're going to drop their turn meters again, drop their defense and attack right at the start, and that's what we want to see. So now my team's just going to work their way through them. And I mean, this team is pretty easy to get right now. I'm sure most players have an apothecary. Armigers you can get from the market. You can pull them from mystery shards. Super easy to get and book because you don't need to actually spend any books on them. Stag Knight available from the battle pass. So if you went ahead and purchased that, you're going to get him almost guaranteed as long as you're doing the missions. And then Rosin Scarhide is probably the hardest one to get at the moment, but he's a permanent fusion, so even if you don't have him right now, down the line, as long as you're working towards the fusion, you'll get him eventually. All right, so right here, it can take a couple rotations depending on what skills are on cooldown to get through. But now that that decreased speed is on there from Stag Knight, should be good to go. We should be able to break the shield this go around. Yeah, there it is. And now the Fire Knight will never get a chance to go again. So we get the decreased defense and weaken from Rosin. The decreased attack doesn't really matter since he's never going to get to go. But now they're just whittling away at his health with War Master. And the Fire Knight is actually slower than the Spider, so it's way easier to keep his turn meter down. So as you'll see this time, I believe this Armiger is going to get to come through with his A2, lay to rest, and do some bigger damage. Especially when Rosin's dropping the turn meter as well, they'll get to go more. Alright, and so this guy's pretty much done. It'll take one more hit and we're out of here. Alright, so 239 Fire Knight, that's pretty good for a team with 2 uncommons and a rare on it. Just 1 epic, 1 legendary. And it's something that at the time of filming this, everyone is capable of getting their hands on. So that's nice. Alright, and finally, as far as dungeons go, we're going to go ahead and take him into the Dragon's Lair. So, we're going to take out Tyrell for him. And let's see. There we go. Alright, so he is a negative affinity here, which means he is going to be taking the attacks. I haven't tested this beforehand, so I'm not sure how it'll work. But with an Arbiter in here to revive him, I think it'll be fine. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Alright, so as you can see, he only got resisted on one of them from a weak hit, which was nice. So as long as we can keep that up pretty consistently, then my team can just kind of come through. Rotos can burst them all down, and we can move on through the waves. And he's taking a couple hits, but he's looking pretty healthy still. He is running 2 Immortal sets, so he can heal himself up a little bit. And then if he does take some damage, both Apothecary and Arbiter here can also help him out with that. So even against blue champions, I think you could see there he did about 29,000 on his A1, which is pretty solid. Not a whole lot there on his A2, but I don't think the decreased defense wasn't up yet, so that's why. So as you'll notice on my team here, I don't run any poison against the dragon. I used to. I used to have Kale in Rotos' spot, but Rotos just puts out so much damage, it's unnecessary. For the most part, the dragon will either get 1 inhale attack or 0. Typically 0, but he does occasionally sneak 1 through. And even then, it's not the end of the world for my team. They can take a single stun. That's not too bad. Alright, so we're coming in here against Dragon now. We got there in 130, which is pretty good. So decreased speed can't go on Dragon, so he's not that helpful here. Really, all that he can do is the decreased defense and decreased attack, which we got there. So as you can see, we've managed to take out his purple bar, no problem. And now we're basically just running through. This is probably going to take about 2:30, which is pretty close to my average time. So taking out Tyrell for Stag Knight didn't really change too much, which is nice. And as you can see, he's still perfectly healthy, just ticking along. So even being green affinity, he's quite helpful in this dungeon. And obviously, I've come through with some good teams here. I'm in game. I don't have a ton of champions 6-starred to show kind of what you can do with rares and epics, but this is the team that I've been able to put together, and I like it. So, defense percent with speed, I'll go ahead and keep those for now. If they roll double speed, I'll probably keep them. Anyway, so finally, let's see, what do we have for Faction Wars? No Banner Lords. He's really good for Faction Wars. He comes through clutch with that defense down and attack down. I can't really show you, but I've basically brought him in here by himself, and he's cleared, I want to say, the first, like, 9 or 10 levels, so he's pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to show you finally him in Clan Boss. So the way I have him built isn't exactly ideal for a Clan Boss run, and I'm going to have to take out Tyrell for him, unfortunately, so I'm not going to have an aura. So I'm not expecting this to be too strong of a run, but we'll kind of see how it goes, and let's get into it. Yeah, I don't know aura. So he's going to be filling my decrease attack and decrease defense roll. Normally, Rotos could fill your decrease defense roll, but mine doesn't have enough accuracy at the moment, so that will be Stag Knight's job instead. Alright, so I play on manual, so this is probably going to be a bit of a long run, but I'll show you kind of how I'm going to set up. And we'll see if he can keep decrease defense and decrease attack on permanently. And then I'll kind of skip ahead and we'll see how we do overall. Alright. So the main thing is to, for this setup, I just want to keep decrease defense, decrease attack on, and I'm trying to get Rotos up to full health as quick as possible. That way he can start coming in with his A1 the entirety of the time. So as you can see, we're coming back around here. If they hadn't been extended, I would still be getting in just in time to place the decrease attack and decrease defense again, but since they were, I'm not going to this time. Alrighty, and so now Steel Skull is going to be able to cleanse my Stag Knight here. Perfect. And we'll get the decreased defense, decreased attack right back on there, and we are rocking and rolling still. So I'm going to go one more rotation as far as showing it, and then I will make my judgment from there as far as if he can keep it up permanently. And remember, I've got him running at about 202 speed, but I do have 2 turn meter boosters in here, so take that into account. And this is on Nightmare, not Ultra Nightmare. Alright, so it looks like we are going to pull this around right after the clan boss goes again, so that's perfect. It seems like, based on his current speed, he will have 100% uptime as long as he doesn't get resisted. And that is exactly what we need. So beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and finish out this run, and I will come back to you with the end result. Alrighty, so it looks like we're coming in towards the end of the run here. And we've gone a decent amount of time. Stag Knight actually has not fallen off, which is nice. Oh, there he goes. That's the first time. But let's see how long we can keep it going here. If Steel Skull can come around one more time and keep Arbiter alive, I don't want to use the revive right now. Alright, cool. So Arbiter's still fine, so we should be able to keep going for a little bit here. But he's been pretty consistent up until this point at keeping the attack down on. But right here, since he went down, he's not going to have it. So this might be a wipe. And that's one thing that kind of distinguishes him from someone like Tyrell or Jareg, where they have it on their A1 versus their A2. He can't keep it up 100% of the time, because if anything happens that takes him down and he gets revived, that's just kind of it for him. His cooldowns are not on a proper rotation. So we're at the end right here. This is going to be it. Roto's making his final stand. Keep going. Keep going. No. Okay, that's it. No? All right, we're still going. No, okay, that's it. Cool. So we went 1057 in, 24.7 million. That's a little less than I normally do, but not much. So Stag Knight can easily come in and replace Tayrel. One interesting thing that I noticed was with my Rotos, since he has kind of low accuracy. Here, let me get into him for a second. His accuracy is only 111, but when he would get resisted, Stag Knight would come in. He'd throw the increased accuracy by 50% on Rotos, and then he might have a better chance of landing his next defense down. So even though Stag Knight could keep it up 100% of the time, it did allow a little bit more consistency for defense down. So if your Stag Knight isn't fast enough to keep it up 100%, but you do have a Rotos in there along with him, or another champion that does decrease defense on their A1 that's lacking a little bit of accuracy, Stag Knight could potentially help bump you up there. But yeah, so that's about it for Stag Knight. He's a great champion, a great addition to the game. I'm glad they added him with the Battle Pass, and I hope you all have fun using him. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for future content. Thanks.